In this chapter, we will go into more detail about creating an effective training plan for yourself. We will combine the things we went through in the nutrition, muscle building, and fat burning chapters. It is always a good idea to start with some kind of ready-made workout plan from the start. But at some point, it won't be enough when one gets past the novice phase. Going through the same exercises with the same rep and minute count isn't enough. This is what this chapter is for, to get to the next level in your workout and performance goals. In no means is this an exhaustive list or exact plan because it would take a whole book to cover everything. Rather, it's a universal action plan of most important principles for every exerciser. The assumption is that your goal is to get into better physical condition, drop some fat, and gain some muscle while improving your overall health and well-being. If you're an advanced level exerciser, then those principles might be self-evident for you. Let's start with the bigger picture. As we've seen in improving one's fitness, we need to take into account different areas of training, nutrition, and lifestyle. Focusing on only one or two things gets only mediocre results at best. When we talk about an effective workout plan, we should take into consideration at least three things. 1. Aerobic exercise. 2. Strength training. 3. Nutrition, that we'll deal with in another chapter. That being said, those are the most important parts, but there is a lot more that goes into a good plan, but we'll get into it a little later. So for us to create a good workout plan for you, we have to combine those three in a logical and effective order. At this point, we are assuming that your goal is primarily to get fitter and feel better while looking better. The first thing you need to plan is how often and how long will you be working out. It should be at least 2 times a week and not more than 7 times a week. Naturally, the more often you work out, the shorter your workouts need to be. It is recommended that you have shorter workouts more often than long workouts farther apart. Let's say you start working out at home without any equipment. In this scenario, it would be fine to do a 10-minute whole-body bodyweight routine every day or every other day and 10 to 20-minute aerobic training the same way. But rather than counting the minutes, it's more important how much you get done. The point of a good strength training plan is to work your whole body equally. When you've just started out, your resistance training is lighter and your muscles don't need more than 24 hours to recover. At this point, you could either do a short full-body workout, 1 set per muscle group every day, or divide your body into 2, for example, upper and lower body or pulling and pushing muscle groups and cycle between those 2 routines. Until you've gotten to the next level in your fitness, it's not smart to split your routine into more than 2 parts. What about the repetitions? The aim should be to be able to do max 20 reps of every exercise, while the last reps are close to or above the 90% exertion line. If you find yourself doing most of the exercises more than 20 reps once, you should add sets, not reps. Rather, do 3 sets of push-ups for 20 reps, 18 reps, and 15 reps with 60 seconds apart, then just the first set for 30 reps. At this stage, your workout might look something like this. This is not an actual plan for you to use, but a simplified example. Day 1, 3 sets of max 20 reps, squats, lunges, hip raises, and side lunges. Day 2, 3 sets of max 20 reps, push-ups, crunches, good morning, and planks. Of course, bodyweight only exercises get abundant rather quickly, so you should either take some equipment to use. Resistant bands are one of the best ways to add variety and resistance, or start using a gym. The mainly same principles apply to gym goers. A good gym can add much more variety to one's workout, but it's also a lot easier to do wrong. There has always been a big discussion about whether you should use free weights or machines in the gym, and the truth is that both have their advantages. For example, free weights usually exert a larger part of your body at the same time, so-called multi-joint movements, but at the same time, the injury risk is also higher if you don't have your technique down right. A good coach comes in handy for this part. Machines, on the other hand, are much easier to do correctly, but their effectiveness is lower due to the smaller amount of muscle tissue that they work. Without going into more detail, you should probably incorporate both into your routine, starting with free weight and/or multi-joint movements and finish with machines. When you can do 5 to 6 exercises, 3 to 4 sets in one workout, and start to feel that you aren't improving anymore, it is time to add more challenge to your routine. There are many ways to do that, but the most obvious one, especially for a novice, is to split your workout into 3 parts. For that, there are also many ways. The most common ones are upper body pushing muscles, upper body pulling muscles, and lower legs, or chest, back, shoulders, arms, legs, abs. At some point during this progression, your reps should go down to 8 to 15 sets, or even lower depending on the exercise. Aim for 8 to 10 for larger movements like squats and deadlifts, and a little higher like 8 to 15 reps for smaller movements like bicep curls. You'll manage with a 3-split plan perfectly fine for years, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't change the routine every now and then. Remember, the goal is to always progressively add resistance. So at no point should you stay stagnant for longer periods of time unless you have a specific cause, for example, recovering from injury or overtraining. At one point, you should have a 3-split strength training routine with 8 to 15 reps a set, 2 to 4 sets in an exercise, and 4 to 8 exercises in a workout. Take into account that this is a very rough estimation. Your specific plan might differ from those numbers. Thus far, we've covered strength training, but what about the aerobic training? From the viewpoint of technical details, it isn't as complex as strength training for an average exerciser. Still, the principles remain the same. When you start out with the aerobic training, you should mostly invest into the length of your workout, like we've discussed in the aerobic training chapter. When you're not in good shape yet, you don't want to overexert your nervous system, but slowly introduce it to larger amounts of work. Just like our muscle makeup, our aerobic capacity differs from person to person. So it's harder to give exact numbers for you to follow. But as for a general rule, when you are starting out, you should aim for 50 to 65% heart rate max. For most people, it's equivalent to a faster pace of walking. You should start out with 2 to 3 hours of aerobic training a week, unless you're in decent shape from the start. Most enthusiastic dieters and exercisers make the mistake of overusing the aerobic training to get the weight down faster. More often, it leads to the overexertion of the nervous system and the disbalance of the hormonal system, which will in fact hinder the dropping of weight. You should stay in that zone for at least as long as you've gotten your weekly hours up to 5. At this point, you should start to add the intensity. You should start to incorporate intervals of 60 to 75% heart rate max into your workout. At the start, it could be something like this. Previously, 1 hour of walking, now 10-minute walking, 10-minute light jogging, 15-minute walking. You don't have to stop the lower intensity training, but you should turn more and more of it into higher intensity training while listening to the signals of your body, of course, to avoid overtraining. The progressive improvement of your aerobic performance takes time. You should plan ahead 3 to 6 months at a time. Getting from out of shape to in decent aerobic shape takes 3 to 6 months at least. Don't rush it. At some point, you might feel that even the higher intensity aerobic workout doesn't challenge you enough, or the workout length stretches too long. At this point, it is smart to start high-intensity interval training, not to replace all your aerobic workout, but to replace 1 or 2 sessions per week. All right, how does all of this fit together? How do you use this knowledge to make a workout plan and calendar for yourself? When you're first starting out, it doesn't make sense to plan ahead for more than 3 months without a specific reason. You should plan the next 3 months ahead, 1 week at a time. The main questions you have to ask yourself are, how many hours a week do I have for working out? How often can I work out? How many minutes can I work out at one time? What goals do I have for the next 3 months? Do I prioritize strength or aerobic workout, or do I balance those? It is recommended that in the novice phase, until 6 months of working out for most, you shouldn't stretch your workouts longer than 1 hour. Whether you are doing strength and aerobic in the same workout or separately, either method is fine, whether you are doing 3 strength workouts and 2 aerobic workouts a week, for an example, or do 25 minutes of strength training followed by 35 minutes aerobic training. Once again, those are just random examples. There are endless possible combinations. For most exercisers, it's the easiest to do both on the same day. As a general rule, you should do the strength workout first, followed by aerobic training. So the first thing is that you plan those workout sessions for every week, keeping them as regular as possible. When you've gotten this down, you should add the progression to the context. For strength, it might not show in the plan at all. When you start out, you can follow the same gym workout plan for the longer periods at a time without the need to mix it up very often. The thing that changes is the resistance and weights. It's another thing for the body weight workout that we discussed above. As for aerobic training, you should incorporate the progression into the plan from the start. Here's what an example plan could look like. Oftentimes, life happens and it turns out you aren't able to follow your plan or you have to adjust it. That's not a problem. Rather, it's a necessity because nothing ever goes 100% according to the plan. Be willing to adjust fast, but don't make compromises that stop you from achieving your goals. Always stick to the core plan. Details are adjustable. This was a very brief overview of making an effective workout plan. There are so many more things that go into it, but it's important that you now have gotten the main principles. You'll learn the rest on the way. Try to absorb information from different sources. Test out different things. If you have a coach, that's fine, but if you don't, then ask for help from more experienced exercisers that you can really trust because of the amount of false information out there.